Hey everyone, I was going to go on a run. Decided to go for a walk because it's a bit too cold to talk about the Xiaomi Mi Watch Lite. £50 watch, which can do a lot. It's a bit cold, it's a bit loud, so why don't we talk about it inside? Let's get on with it.
Much better, isn't it? Okay, let's start with the price. This thing costs £60, right? Here in the UK, you can get it for 50 sometimes, but at £60, it still packs all of the basic features and the must-haves, such as GPS, so you can track your runs, walks, swims, if you go on those two. It tracks your sleep, and what helps with that is that it has 7 days of battery life, supposedly. Personally, I think it lasts 4 to 5 days, anywhere between 4 to 5 days on my usage. So there's that. But it helps with the sleep tracking, right? Because you can have it on for 4 days simultaneously without having to worry about taking it off and charging. So there's that. And it's pretty compact, which for me is a plus. I think it's better in every way in terms of how it looks on my wrist than the bigger brother, the Xiaomi Mi Watch. Maybe because I just have petite and nice wrists, but that's that. Now, let me tell you some things this watch does really well. Well, first of all, it's priced really well, competitively, right? At £60, it's priced at a price point which means that if it has some things not going right for it, I'm willing to forgive it because it's £60, right? Apart from the price, what actually does it do really well? First of all, it's got built-in GPS, which is great. For £60, I don't have to carry my phone anywhere. If I go on a run, which is rarely or never, but when I go for walks, all I have is my watch, start the tracking, and off I go. It does all the tracking for me. It knows how many kilometers I've walked. It knows my map, or at least I can come back and have a look at my GPS map and see, oh, actually, did 5K, not bad, whatever. So, GPS for £60, I love it. On top of that, this watch lasts, like I said, roughly 4 to 5 days, which is better than, my Apple Watch, which lasts barely 2 days. So what that means is I can have this on my wrist every day for 4 or 5 days. That means I can go to sleep. It can track my sleep. That's right, it can track your sleep. How well does it do it? Well, it tells you whether you've slept in a deep mode or a light mode. And I think that's most of what all watches do. But that's interesting stats, and I like to look at those. It also tells you what time you went to sleep. So it told me I went to sleep at 2:30 last night, which is, correct. So there's that as well. So great for GPS tracking for all of your fitness workouts. And by workouts, I mean running and walking and potentially swimming. It also does cricket, which I guess is a big thing for a lot of the markets where this watch is being sold at. And if you are one of those people who have played cricket with this watch on, then let me know. Maybe you've played a 5-day test and you haven't had to charge it for 5 days. Let me know how that goes. But it has a few more additional fitness options apart from just your basic ones. It's not quite as complete as the Xiaomi Mi Watch, the bigger brother, which has 120 options, but, well, I don't even know 120 sports, to be honest with you, but whatever, right? I think it has all the basics, which it does pretty well. Another thing which I really like about this watch is the slim profile. It sits perfectly on my wrist, unlike the bigger brother, right? Which is clunky and round and, this one I can move my wrist, it sits perfectly. And yeah, slim, compact, maybe because I have petite wrists, whatever, like I said before. I don't care. This one fits perfectly on the wrist for me, and maybe it will sit on your wrist nicely too. And remember, you're getting all of this for £50, £60. Wow. Really good. Right, so let's get to the things it doesn't do well. Right, there are a few things this particular watch doesn't do well, and let's go through them. You'd be interested to probably find out what I make of it. First of all, no animations. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when you're moving through different parts of the watch, like the menu system, swiping through the different options such as looking at the weather, you know, how many calories you've burnt, all the watch faces. There is no smooth animation when you move from one to the next. It's all just janky, go from one to the other. Is that a deal breaker? Not for me, right? Because for me, I just leave it on one watch face and that's it. But when you first get it, you're going to play around with it and you're going to be like, oh, this feels a bit janky. So yes, initially it's a negative, but after you set it up and you're used to your routine, your watch faces, what you do with it, that's it. Settled, done. But it's worth letting you know. Another thing which is actually quite bad is you can only have 5 watch faces on the watch at one time. Yep. So you have an option of a lot of different watch faces. They have roughly over 100 from what I've seen, which is great, right? That's really good. But to get it installed on your watch, it takes roughly 30 seconds to a minute. So I was like, okay, go through them one by one, install them. But it turns out you can only have 5 at a time on the watch. So after I installed the last one, I realized like, oh shit, I only have 5. I've missed all the others that I've installed. So that's actually quite a negative, annoying thing. But again, it's one of those things you're only going to do at the beginning when you're trying to figure out what watch face you want for yourself. And once you settle on 5, I don't think anyone wants more than 5. But again, have to let you know that that is a thing. And the final thing are the bezels. Now, the bezels on this are huge, which again isn't a deal breaker unless you like watch faces that have a lot of colors in them. If the colors are not black, at least around the borders, then you're going to notice how small the watch face actually is, how small the screen actually is, right? So yeah, that's another thing worth noting, which is why I always love my watch faces to have black around the edges. So at least it's seamless and you can only see the time and it looks like the whole watch is a watch face, which, or at least the whole watch is a screen, which is great. So they're the 3 things. Now, if this was £120 like the bigger brother, which I've slated in a lot of different ways, I'd be like, nah, not acceptable. But at £60, they are absolutely okay. I'm okay for these to exist, these faults to exist, because most of them are, you know, tiny, right? It tells me the time. Most of the times it tells me the times. It lasts a very long time. I don't have to worry about the battery life because of that. I can sleep with it. It tells me how much calories I've burnt, how much walking I've done, how many steps I've taken. And I think the major benefit is the GPS. I can take it out without my phone, which slows me down by at least 5 minutes per kilometer. But there is that. So overall, if this watch cost £100, I would be slating it, like the bigger brother. But at £60, you're getting so much. And the negatives are, you know, minor in the sense that you'll go through them once, and once they're settled, that's it. Put them to the side, and you can just carry on with your day-to-day. So that's the negatives. And that's it, right? Pretty simple. £60 watch with a lot of pros, a few cons. Who is this watch for? That's a difficult one, right? A lot of people will probably look at this watch at £60 and say, hey, I can actually afford the extra £60 and go the bigger brother, which you should check my video before you do that. But for a lot of people, right, who just want basic functionality, right? They just want basic functionality. There are so many people who don't want to set up a million things on their watch. People don't want notifications. Sure, this watch has notifications, but you know, people who don't care about notifications, all they care about is tracking steps reasonably accurately, right? And what a lot of the cheaper options don't do is they don't do that accurately because it doesn't have GPS. Whereas this one, when you go for a walk, which in the pandemic everyone does, it will track you properly, right? And moving forward as well, there are a lot of people who just want some basic functionalities done really well, who have an Android phone, obviously. Of course, it works with iOS as well, so there's that option. But again, £60. That figure is incredibly cheap. It's a dinner out in London for 2 people, or 1 person if you're, you know, me and McDonald's. But it's really cheap, right? And I'm not setting my bars really low because it's cheap. It exceeds a lot of the different things, like the design sits on my hand really well, unlike the bigger brother. It works like I expect, sleeps with me, tracks my sleep, it tracks my walks. What else do I want? So, if you're in the market for a watch which is really cheap, it does all the basics really well, or you're looking for something to gift someone, whoever it is, this is a perfect starter point. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Short, sweet, and I'll see you in the next one.